Welcome back everyone. I'm doing one of your favourite repair compilation videos today. Starting off with this one here, and we'll see what else comes through the workshop. Stick them all together and make a video for you. Let's have a look at this one. So this bike, as you can see, is pretty much brand new. I think it's only a couple of months old. Mostly been on a turbo trainer, I think. I don't think it's seen much outdoor action. However, the gears are not working. I'll show you what they're doing and what the problem is, because it's not what you think. So normally when you have a new bike, the gears will sort of bed themselves in after a while, and you'll struggle to shift up the cassette. It will get a bit sluggish to get up there. This has got the opposite problem to that. It goes up perfectly, literally perfectly. And coming down, very sluggish. Like that. Doesn't want to go there at all. Eventually gets there. It won't go down there. So I'll show you first of all how to identify what the actual problem is. You click down to this gear it's not happy with, so it doesn't really want to come down here. It will do, but if you get a hold of this derailleur and twist it like this, basically replicating a shift, see if it shifts down. And yeah, it comes straight down there. So that automatically tells you pretty much 100% this is a problem with the cable. And I'll show you what that problem is. Have a look at these bars. Hear that clicking? That's the problem. So I've got the bike upside down now in the stand, and there's the rear gear cable. You can see it's been catching on this bolt on every revolution, and eventually pretty much destroyed it. So that's why your gears are not working. Badly installed at the factory, too long, catching on this bolt down here. So we obviously need to repair this. It's a pretty straightforward repair to replace that housing. However, as you can see, the bar tape, as I say, is pretty much brand new. So I kind of don't want to touch that. So I'll show you another way of doing it, which technically is probably slightly better than actually just replacing this housing. So actually what I'm going to do is cut this cable either side of the bad bit. It's too long anyway. And then I'm going to install an inline barrel adjuster. One half will go in there, one in there. Run the inner cable back through there, and it's repaired. These are very cheap, cheaper than bar tape, and very easy to fit as well. So that's the problem there. It's far too long, so it needs to come a much smoother curve down here, and this will actually make that happen. Normally you'll have one inline for your front derailleur. There's no harm having one on your back. If you've got issues with your gears when you're riding along, you can actually just give it a quick tweak on here, rather than have to get off your bike. Just give it half a turn on there, and your gears will be good. So we're going to drop that in there, and I'll show you how. Super easy. Obviously we've got to disconnect the gear cable at the back. Again, this is almost brand new Shimano cable. So cut it off, and because we're going to lose 2 inches out of the housing at the front, this loop here will be removed anyway, so you'll have basically a fresh piece of cable here to thread back through. A win-win. Nice, cheap and easy repair this is. Just undo this, pull that out, do your barrel adjuster back in and then out 2 turns. You're going to have another one at the other end anyway, so that's fine where it is. Sort of a semi-integrated cable on this one, so we can pull this piece out here and pull this piece out as well. And you do have access to the cable underneath the bottom bracket, so we're not sort of fully enclosed, sort of semi-enclosed. So I'll run a piece of liner on this cable so we can get it back out again. Should be easy. Just a short piece of this plastic Jaguar liner, just down to the bottom bracket. That's all we need. If you have a kink in this cable like this, that's good, because it's going to stop this actually falling off. So push that in there, and it'll pretty much hold it on there anyway. Push it on as far as you can. You won't get the cable out the other end yet, but that's fine. And then we're going to push that into the chainstay and pull it out underneath the bottom bracket. So this is the rear derailleur cable here. It looks like they've already put a bit of a liner on there anyway, so I'll just push mine through, and it should eventually come out there as well. There it is there. So I'll just leave that piece there. That's coming out the other end of the chainstay still, and then you can pull the gear cable out, so you'll easily get all this back in there. So that piece there they put on is very short, it only goes to there, so it doesn't go down to the other end of the cable. So I'll run another piece, so it will. Take this piece off for now. So I've got a much longer piece now. Thread that over that cable again. I think that piece that's came out there basically was just to cover the piece over the bottom bracket guide there. And I just pushed it out with mine, so we'll put it back. When it goes back in, we'll put it from there to there. You don't know on this if it's fully internally lined. I suspect it's not. So we'll use this. So again, just push that line on as far as you can. That's really grabbed that pretty good because of the little kink in the cable there. And then we'll pull it through. So now, what I'm going to do is pull this out and push my liner in at the same time. Yeah, we need to get that out. I'm just going to use a pick on this, and it should, hopefully. Just grab it like that. There's a big hole there for that liner to come out, no problem. Just take your time. What you don't want to do is pull the liner off the cable. Pushing that liner up from the bottom there. There you go, easy. So now we can pull this cable out. So we're fully lined on both pieces of the frame, down tube and the chainstay. So you can pull this straight out now. You take this inner cable out of the lever, so just pull the hood back and you'll see it there. Make sure your gear lever is in the position for the smallest sprocket on the back, and then it will just pop out. I'm just pushing that cable now from the other end, and it should come out there. Again, a pick is pretty useful for this, just to grab that. Like that. I'm pulling this all the way out. It's literally brand new. So. Now we can look at this outer cable. There you go, not too bad. That'll go through, no problem. So now we can cut this damaged housing without cutting the inner cable, obviously. So I'm going to cut it right back to here. Cut that piece off, like that, and then cut the other bit off there. So we've lost that much length, however, the adjuster will add sort of 10mm, and this was way too long in the first place, so we'll thread that in, see how it looks. Worst case scenario, you can replace this little piece here that goes down to the down tube, and still leave this one underneath the fresh bar tape. To add a cable end cap onto this one, and your adjuster, and then the other end of that down to the down tube, and see how it looks. Well, that's more than long enough because that's the bar at sort of 90 degrees there, and it's not pulling the cable tight, so that's good. That's actually a really nice length there. That's miles away from that bolt now. And it'll drop into there, perfect. All right, good. Now I can put this inner cable back through the lever. Easy if you just pop this out first there, to be honest. Like that. Thread the cable through the hole on the other side, like that. Pull that through, make sure it seats properly on the other side. So that needs to sit in its housing down the bottom there. You can just see where it goes. Push that down and pull the cable, and it will seat in there nicely. That's in there perfectly now. And that one just goes back in there and will come out of the housing. You can just pull that through there now. And that's in there. So now we can put the lever back together, finish with this bit. Put that in there, put the hood back. That bit's done. Put that in there, pull that through, seat that in there. And we can thread it back down the down tube. Just added my clamp because it was spinning around doing my head in. And I'll just thread this cable through that liner that we put in. And don't forget to add this piece first that we popped out the frame. Otherwise it definitely won't work. Thread that through there. Hold the liner, just keep pushing as far as you can. It should come out the other end, which I can see on the floor almost. Yep, that's out the other end now, so I'm just going to pull that through now, like that. Pull that through and locate that, like that. So there's that liner I put in, so we can just pull that straight off now because we don't need that. That's just basically a tool. I'm not using that. There's the cable. Add the piece of liner that was fitted to the bike. Just going to start that in there basically. All this does is rest in here and just gives it some weather protection. And then thread the other end of that cable into the other liner that I added until it comes out the other end. Like that. Take that liner out and pull this cable, make sure that locates in there, and we're done. Before you do anything else, grab this cable and pull it quite tight and operate your gear levers. And I can feel that pulling and releasing, so that's good. Add this small guide back on. I'll just talk to you about this cable here. This is a special Shimano cable for shadow derailleurs, which is basically most of them now. This is the OTRS 900 cable. On a normal derailleur cable, it's very, very stiff and rigid because the internal structure goes this way. This is actually a cable wound one, similar to a brake cable basically, but it gives you massive flexibility. Look, you can't do that with a normal gear cable. Well, you can, but you don't want to. So it really, really does aid shifting on shadow derailleurs. If you've not got one of these and you've got just a short piece here and you're trying to put a massive curve in a normal cable, it don't work very well. So you need to use this really. Any bike that comes in with a shadow derailleur that doesn't have this fitted, I always upgrade it because it makes such a big difference. Only on shadow derailleurs. Just thread this through here now. Locate that into the frame, through the derailleur, and just nip it up. Now if you look at the front end, there's the adjuster we put in. Absolutely miles away from those bolts now, so that's good. As an added bonus, if you need to tweak your gears when you're out on a ride, you can just tweedle this now. You don't even need to get off your bike. And in reality, it's much easier to tune your gears while actually riding it rather than getting it off the bike and putting it under no load on a stand. You get a better reading if you're doing it actually while you're riding along. So you can just tweak that, quarter of a turn, job done. So just before you start to adjust the gears, leave it in the smallest sprocket at the back as you put it on. Then we're forcing this gear lever up as far as you dare without pedalling, and all that's going to do is seat all those housings back in onto that one there, and then release it. what that does is seat these properly onto the actual new housing here. If it's got another sort of 1/4 millimetre to pull itself on, it does all that for you. So there's 5 of these within the system, so you just need to make sure all those are seated properly. People say cable stretch on a new bike. Basically what it is, they've not done that, and these things sort of seat themselves over the first couple of weeks, and then your gears go out of whack. So really critical you do that step there on any bike, mountain bike, road bike. Just press it in, it will just seat these all the way onto the housing, and then index the gears. I will put an end cap on there, don't worry. Right, so just going to shift one gear. Need more tension. Which one shall we use? We'll go with this one. Unscrew that, couple of turns, and that's up. And go back down. This limit screw actually needs adjusting. Even when I did it first with the original cable, it was just a little bit sluggish down there, so I need another 1/2 turn on there. This B tension gap is huge. It should be sort of 6 millimeters between this sprocket here and here. This is about 20 millimeters, so bit of a Friday afternoon of this one, I think, by the looks of it. So I'm just going to back that out, give it some more wrap around, like that. Alright, now we've adjusted that B tension right. Look how long this chain is. Oh my god. Let's go big, make sure we can accommodate a link or two out there. Absolutely no problem, we can go right to here. We'll shorten the chain as well now. This is what you call a Friday afternoon bike, unfortunately. The apprentice has been on this one. Take that out, take a link out. Right, so that's small now. We've just about got the tension we need, rather than flopping around like it was. You should never be in this gear, don't get me wrong, but you should be able to accommodate both extremes. So go back up to big here, and big at the back. And that's fine there. Right, see what it's like with all that stuff adjusted. Goes up perfectly. And it goes down. Sorted. That's how I should have left the factory. What's next? Next up we got is 3T. Bike's in for a service, and it's also in for a handlebar swap. As you might notice, we've got some semi-integrated cables here. The cable goes through the bar and then into the frame, and we're on hydraulic brakes. So a couple of issues on this one. I'll show you what they are. Not so much difficult, but just different. So this generation of hydraulic SRAM lever, you don't disconnect the cable from the lever, you disconnect it from the actual caliper itself. So this is the reservoir here, and there's a banjo fitting that lives underneath there. Not really designed to be undone there unless you're replacing the entire hose. But if you do that, you need to buy a complete hose from SRAM. It goes all the way back to the caliper with a banjo fitting on it. So it's a bit more challenging, a bit more expensive if you need to replace the hose. Fortunately on this bike, we've got a load of spare. We're only going to need another sort of 10 millimeters, and we've got absolutely miles of spare hose here. So we're okay on this one. It could have been a lot worse. And again, on the front one, we've got plenty of spare there. We'll easily accommodate sort of 10 millimeters there for trimming that hose. So we've got one gear cable, actually goes in frame here, down here, and then around here. This is one of the earlier ones before they started going through stems and headset bearings, so the cables go in down here and down into the actual down tube through here. So you've got quite good access to these, makes it fairly straightforward. So obviously we've got to disconnect both the brakes, disconnect the derailleur, pull the hose out, pull this gear cable out, same on the fork, take the bar off, put a new bar on, connect everything back up, bleed the brakes, set the gears up, wrap the bars. 10 minutes. Like I say, the derailleur is on the full housing, so I only need to pull the inner out. So that's not too bad at all on this one. The bike is in for a service. I've not looked at anything else on the bike yet. I'm just doing this bar first. Obviously there's no point in looking at setting brakes up and gears up if we're taking it all off. So I'll only be covering the bar swap in this one. Take that out. So to disconnect this brake, we do it at the caliper end, as I say. You pull this boot back here, and there should be just your normal 8mm flare nut, like that. So we'll disconnect that, chop this hose off, connect something to the end of this hose, pull it all the way through the frame, through that top tube, and then re-terminate this with a new fresh barb and olive at the end. It is a DOT brake fluid system, so you just got to be careful you're not flicking fluid everywhere. So you can buy complete hose from SRAM. This bit gets assembled on the bike, and the banjo and the lever. Generally, I think you can get some aftermarket ones, but normally you buy a complete hose from SRAM, and they're quite expensive. So if your hose isn't long enough when you want to do this, you might want to factor in another £100 on hoses. Right, that's there. Potentially you could just unscrew the olive and the hose would be small enough to go through the frame, but I need to connect a tool to that there to pull it through the frame and get it out the other end. If I pull this now, look how much slack we've got there. We've got all the slack in the world on this bike, which is helpful. That's not even moving at the top tube, that's all in the down tube slack. Crikey. Cut this off. I think the Jaguar cutter's not working particularly well. I need to upgrade it to something. Any suggestions? It's got a lot of flex in this plastic body and sometimes doesn't do a particularly good cut. Take these two bits off anyway. Just watch yourself, look, because I'm already covered in dot fluid, so if I touch the frame now, I'm going to cause issues. I've got many different tools for routing it through there, so I just need something that's going to screw in the end of this hose and pull through the frame. I've got a brand new 2pre one here, so I'm going to use that. It's nice and fresh. There's a fitting here that screws into that hose. Very, very cheap on AliExpress, so when I do an order, I tend to just put one of those on, because what you tend to find is you can get good combinations of different kits that connect each other together, sort of thing, and just make life easier. Plus they get in a right tangled mess, so it's easy just to fit a new one. Right, that's screwed in there. That ain't going anywhere. I'm never going to pull out. Make sure you got a good connection on this. You don't want this coming out halfway. Just keep everything clean. This is brake cleaner here. Obviously we've got, like I say, DOT fluid all over the place now, but this is basically sealed that as we pull it through the frame. So that'll come through now. So what I'm going to do now is pull that from the top tube until we see this blue bit. If we don't see that, I've got a bad day. Alright, so this is the brake hose here. This is the gear cable. Leaving this one in, pulling the inner cable out of the lever. The brake hose we've got to pull out. You can undo this if you want, but we shouldn't really need to. Good luck. Just going in, coming out. No problem. Big problem. That's just come out just there, I think, so I should be okay. Plus it's magnetic, so if I can see it, I should be able to grab it fairly easily. That's what you don't want to happen, but this is real stuff, guys. I could have edited that out and done it again, but I'll show you what really happens. Can I see it? Nope. I do, however, have this flexible magnet thing here, so I'm hoping it'll grab it. If not, I've got to take the headset out and find it in there. I don't know why it came out. It seemed to be pretty well attached, but never mind. No, it's not playing ball. I'm going to have to just pull this stem, get that out, and I should be able to see it through there fairly easily. Oh, I can see it now. Yep. It's just down here. Come back. It's here, out the bottom. I'm just going to show it out the top now. Here it is. Shit, nearly pulled out the other end then. Right, I'm going to drop this fork back in now. You can see it's absolutely pristine condition with lovely grease in there. It's almost like I've serviced this before. Now thread that bit through here where it should have come out. We'll leave that loose anyway, just in case we've got to go back in there. Same again on the front, just disconnect this. I'm confident I'll be able to get this through here, so I'm not going to route that. Just be careful, like I say, you've got brake fluid dripping out of here now. Right, so I'm going to unwrap this bar to get access to the here. I need to get the gear cable out of here. And obviously I'll disconnect these from the bar because the bar's coming off. You didn't like the bar because of this raised bit here. You can kind of see why. It's a bit of a weird design. I'm going to keep these end plugs for the new tape. Even though you get fresh ones, they match the bike and they're in great condition, so I'll keep them. Gear cable is in here, that's going to come out. Obviously going to fit a new inner gear cable to this. And that's that. Undo this now and pull this hose all the way through the bar. There's the hose. That's the front brake. So this gear cable has, and we should be able to reuse, hopefully. Just going to take that off, pull it through. Don't worry about routing the new bars, they're easy. Cut this sign off and take that lever off exactly the same. That's that, and that'll come off now. Done. The bar can come off now. And they bolted at the back, unusual. Use friction enhancer paste, it says. Friction enhancer paste, I've never heard it called that before. Carbon paste. Alright, bar is off. Obviously take this off as well when we get the new one on. And that's that, so we can go drop the new bar in there and reverse what we've just done. Now, first of all, we're just going to basically get these threaded through the bar. It's going to be a bit easier than putting it onto the stem first. This is the gear cable, so obviously going to the right hand side, poke it through, get your pick and just sort of guide the rest of it through. There you go. So this is the rear brake. Again, UK is going through this side, easy. Like that. There's 2 of the 3 done. Last one is this front brake hose. Oh, that's the hard bit done. Once that's on, just get some bolts on there. It's asking for carbon paste as well, so I'll just put a drop on there. And again on the other half of the stem. Just bolted up loosely in place. We'll set the final angle when it's back on the ground and level and whatnot. That ain't going to be far off there. You didn't tell me, did you? Front brake's got to go from this direction, not that direction. I'm so used to terminating them at the lever. Let's put it the wrong way around. But it's exactly the same. Just go through there and pull it out there again. I'm going to get this lever somewhere close, and then I'm going to get that brake hose through the fork, and this should hopefully just drop straight through here and out the other side. Of course you don't. I can't remember the last time I've had a fork that doesn't just go straight through there without on its own accord. Pull this guide through hopefully now then. Like that. This with a magnet that's come straight through. And this will go into that hose and then we can pull it through. Right, that's that one done. Right, so now this can be pulled back through to the chainstay. You have to ignore the continuity error. I know this used to be blue, it's now green, but I had an issue. That's all I'm saying. La-di-da. Right, that should go through there easy. Get this lever somewhere close again, not the other one. And then I'm just going to pull this green one from the chainstay all the way through there and pray. Not right. Finally, and that's out the chainstay there. And it's just a case of putting a new barb and olive in here. Just screw that in until it's flush with the end. Like so, put that in and put your boot on. Then your nut. And then you can put your olive on. It's all left hand thread. And then go in the caliper. A little bit of DOT grease on here. Like that. Make sure you get that straight because it's really easy to get that started crooked because of the stiffness of the hose. You don't really want to take the caliper off, but if need be, you're going to have to get it going straight. Right, let's go in. This bike needs new pads desperately. Wow. Okay, right, that's in. And get your boot back on there. Like that. And again, just one wipe down for brake fluid. This bike desperately needs new brake pads, so I'm going to do the pads and the bleed separately, not in this video. I'm just showing you really the handlebar change on this one and the routing and how interesting it can be. The front one, I've took the caliper off because the angle of this, there's just no way you're getting in there without getting it cross-threaded, so drop the caliper off and you can get it in nice and straight. It's just not worth the risk. Yes, you've got to realign your brakes, but whoopie-doo. There's a new cable. Bar is not as good for routing as the old one, that is for sure. This gear cable outer needs to live in here and get the inner through it first. Well, this is a tight angle, guys, so I'm going to take this lever off again because that's just going to bend that cable. Push that into there, and that's home. I'm just going to pull this housing back through it again and then try and line that bolt up with that. Now I can put this lever where we want it. Obviously we don't have any markings because it's a new bar. So it normally sits pretty high up here though, like that. The bike's back on the floor, right, that feels pretty good there. So I'll just get these torqued up now in here and on the stem, headset's already set. And look at wrapping these bars. That's tight. Right, just going to throw some bar tape on this and wrap it up, literally. So that's gone on really, really nicely. I've got the old 3T plugs back in there. This is Motgov tape off, I guess where, AliExpress. I think it's about £4 a roll, and it's really, really nice. I use this so much. I've also swapped these cables to go underneath the stem rather than over. It just flows slightly better down there. And that's that one done then, basically. Like I say, I'm going to bleed the brakes, set the gears, etc. as part of the main service. I'm not going to include that in this video, otherwise it'll be about 2 hours long. So skip to the next bike. Just before we move on to this last one, quick pause to say thank you to this video's sponsor, Sport and Leisure. So when you're in the middle of a job, or many jobs like me at the moment, the last thing you want is progress to come to a grinding halt because a part that said it was in stock wasn't actually in stock. Half the time, not even in the same country. And that's why I use Sport and Leisure. They're UK based, their stock levels are live. The website says it's on the shelf, it genuinely is on the shelf, ready to go. Order it before 3 PM, ships the same day with free delivery on all UK orders, and next day delivery it's only £2.50. So it's a no-brainer when you're trying to keep the work moving. They've also updated the discount scheme for the channel. You head over to sportandleisure.com/BCR or scan this QR code on the screen right now, or generate a unique voucher for 10% discount off your first order at checkout. If you're buying parts anyway, it's an easy saving. So the link's down below, and a massive thanks again to sportandleisure.com for continuing to support the channel. Last up, we've got this Canyon, again with cable issues. This brake lever, that bit is basically doing nothing. There's no operation there. It will put the brake on, but then it basically seizes in there, so that's clearly a cable issue. And I'll show you how to prove that. All we need to do really is disconnect the cable out of the caliper, because you'll feel the springs in this if they're okay, because sometimes it could be the caliper that's seizing up, sometimes it can be the cable. Very, very, very rarely it's a lever. In fact, I don't think it's ever the lever, to be honest. But Open that up there. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that caliper, so it's clearly a cable issue. I'll just take this out of the way for now. If that was slow return, then you'd suspect the caliper. There's nothing wrong with that caliper. Let's cut this off. So new brake cable inner, at least inner. Take that out, pull that off. So this canyon is on 2 separate pieces of housing. This is a galvanised cable that's been fitted here. You can see that. Well, I can see that. So this is the first port into the frame. It's just a terrible cable. Oh my god. Wow. You can see the corrosion from here. Alright, pull that out, and then the other end should be fairly straightforward. You can run a liner down here. Yeah, let's run a liner after the previous 2. So if you've not got any of this liner stuff and you do a lot of work on your bikes, friends' bikes, I'd highly recommend you grab some. You might have to buy 30 metres of it though, that's the only problem. Alright, just thread that into, just as it starts to go in the frame, that'll be more than enough. And then it should just come straight out here. Look at the state of this. Oh my god. Oh dear. I do need to get this end cap out there because that will stop the liner coming out, and I've got a feeling this is going to be seized solid. I've had one of these before and it was an absolute beep to get out. You can see corrosion all the way around here. I don't think that's coming out, guys, in a million years. In fact, I'm going to abandon that and leave that to die with the frame. We'll get the cable through, don't we? It ain't never coming out. I've done one of these before and it was whoa, drilling it and all sorts, and it was a millimetre away from either do or die. I'm not risking it again. It can act as a permanent cable stop. It should have been greased when it went in the frame, but that's going to live there forever now. That ain't never coming out, guys. It comes out in tiny little shards, and then you're basically left with nothing usable, and you've got an even bigger problem. So stay in there. You got to know when to stop. I've been there, done that with these, and it was an absolute swine of a job. Rather than pulling that through the housing and the bar that I'm probably not going to be able to change because we're not doing the bar tape, cut this off and pull it the other way. And then all the crap will just be at the end of the cable. Like that. That is so tightly in there, look at that. Wow! That's why your brakes aren't working. Jesus, that's so bad. Oh my god. Right. I mean, this is compressionless housing. You can see this is not brake cable. This is, well, it is brake cable, but it's compressionless housing brake cable because it looks like gear cable. Normally a brake cable's spiral wound. I'm presuming it's brake cable, either that or someone's used gear cable in the past. I don't know, I've never seen this bike before, but you would presume that is compressionless housing for brake cable. That's in a sorry state. So I'm going to flush this through and get a new stainless cable in there and see how it feels, but ideally you definitely want to change that for sure. Here we've got about 20mm we can lose. Oh, that's actually silver down there now, so it might be okay. Open this up. Some lube in there, just cover your fingers over. Someone said an inline cable oiler. I looked at them, but they look a bit big and motorbikey. We've seen them before. Right, I'll run a stainless inner through there and see how it feels. It should feel smooth, or at least be able to move it. That'll be a start. Let's go through the lever with this one. Hopefully I can find a housing. Yeah, a good guess, wasn't it? That's already through and it feels really good. Looks clean as well. There was a little bit of crap just fell out, but that looks okay. So with that in, just pull this cable and feel that, and that feels totally fine. So we'll connect that back in through the crusty old thing here. Back to the brake. Trust me guys, if you ever get one like that in a carbon frame, leave well alone. It's, wow, it's probably one of the worst jobs I've ever had to do. It was almost the end of the frame. It was that bad. Currently, it's doing a perfectly good job where it is. I'll just thread it through here and I should be able to just catch it at the other end again with a pick fairly easily. It's a pretty big hole here. There it is. No problem. Just make sure this locates into the stop. Like that. Okay, we can obviously change this piece because that's easy, and it still looks a bit crusty as well, so I'll cut a fresh piece for this. Right, just fit this bung back in here. If they've had something similar like this to the other end of the frame, it wouldn't have been a problem, but apparently not. That'll go in there. So that one there, this is out of the caliper. Some Shimano bits will accept an end cap, some won't. This clearly won't. So the adjuster itself acts as the end cap, so that sits in there. I've got one in the other end there. That locates in there, lovely. Through the brake. Like that. I think the customer bought this second hand, and I think it's had a bit of neglect, unfortunately, prior to his ownership. Cables are so critical. You can see there's multiple issues just on one cable there. Big issues as well with that stop. Right, that lever feels absolutely fantastic now. Just nip that up. That's how it should feel. Cut this off. And when you connect that cable, make sure your brake is in actually its closed position, not its quick release position. Make sure it's like that, set your tension, and then you've got slack when you actually open that. It's obviously an obligatory end cap, black one. Check that lever now. It's got a lovely strong return on that. Good. And the 20-30mm I took off that, we've still got more than enough slack in this brake cable here, so you're okay. I think, to be honest, this bike is on its last legs. It's got other issues that I'm not going to cover in this video, but I'll speak to the owner about. Anyway, that's that one done. What can I say? Cables just shows you how important they are. So I didn't intend this video to be just about cables, but it just happened to be 3 cable jobs. So it just shows you how important they are and how little tiny bits can make a massive, massive difference to the performance of the bike, the gears, the brakes. Also shows you that internal routing can be straightforward, can be not quite so straightforward, even for me. I made mistakes and got there in the end. So I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something. If you did and you like this sort of content, you know what to do, guys. Big subscribe button, like, share, hype, all the great stuff. Anyway, thanks very much for watching and stay tuned for plenty more content like this and our main service videos every Saturday. Thanks for watching.